So the real challenge, of course, is getting fresh people in and tapping into the support of the younger generations.
The household debt to GDP ratio in Thailand is at about 90%, which ranks quite high.
We're in the top 10.
Yeah. So does this metric indicate an economic crisis now or in the near future?
It certainly highlights one of the symptoms of the Thai economy. And I think it's important to recognize too that we're in the top 10, as I said. But not only that, if you look at the other countries in the top 10, they're all rather rich countries, and their debt profile would be mostly about mortgages for houses, assets, and so on. Whereas quite a lot of the substantial portion of our household debts would be actually consumption loans. So getting to grips with this particular problem is tricky. On the one hand, I think it's not so difficult for people who had to depend on maybe loan sharks or high interest loans to just have an opportunity to do business. For them, you can almost refinance them in some way. But the more difficult issue is the consumption loans part. There, I think in the longer term, nothing will beat financial literacy for most people so that they can manage their finances. But it's only one of the symptoms. I think it's clear that, number one, the economy has underperformed for quite some time. Its growth is lower than its historical records. I mean, in my days, any leader talking about a 2%, 3% growth would probably be booed off the stage. Now, 2-3% might find people saying, oh, that's okay, or that's respectable under circumstances. Secondly, it's also one of the lowest in the region. And thirdly, it's clearly, I mean, everybody feels it's certainly under our potential. And that suggests that the problem is not a cyclical one. It's not one that asks for a short-term fix, like a quick stimulus, whether it's in a digital wallet or that you can somehow think of some kind of big mega project. Just the land bridge or a casino will solve this. No, it's clearly structural. It's clearly about competitiveness and also the changing world. The solutions will lie in some of the more difficult issues. For me, the two biggest issues and should be the priorities are first the regulatory environment. Our laws, our regulations have become an obstacle for new businesses, new meaning not just somebody beginning to do business, but also businesses related to the new sectors, the growth drivers of today. They need to be revamped, not just amended here and there, so that people have this regulatory certainty or comfort of coming here. I think if you ask foreign investors, especially in the new sectors, their biggest concern is this. Number two is their concern would be about whether we have people with the right skills. And so a big reskilling program is needed. And for me also, one shortcut, if you like, is really trying to import talents. And so I would say that, we talk a lot about soft power and people thinking about, selling what we have abroad. In fact, we should use that power because I still believe that for so many people around the world, this is a place where they would like to live. They like a lot of things about Thailand. Use that to draw the talents. I'm always surprised that so many governments now try to attract people with money. I want to attract people with talent.
Are you suggesting immigration reform?
Yes, I do. And even on the unskilled side, we are struggling to find Thais doing a number of jobs. And we already have, I don't know, what's your estimate of Myanmar workers here, but it's huge. And it doesn't make sense to pretend that they're not here and to make them live in a way that is always subject to uncertainty or even abuse of authority by government officials. It really is time to reform that.
Okay, so taxation is lopsided right now.
Sure, that's the next thing is, apart from the growth rate, the degree of inequality in terms of wealth, in terms of income, and it just makes no sense that, so many people now expect that they should have a good welfare system, safety nets of some kind, and pretend that we can have that when we collect 13-14% of GDP in taxes.
Well, here's my question to you, is that the middle class says that it's unfair.
It is, because they're the ones that are fully taxed, whereas the others get away with it.
So what is the fix to the taxation system as it is?
Well, there are a number of steps. We don't want to get too technical, but the tax exemptions in income tax usually work for the rich at the moment, not the poor. And so we're losing a lot of revenues from that. Secondly, there are taxes on assets that are not being fully utilized or leveraged. We can have more earmarked indirect taxes so that we maybe channel money into issues like an aging population. And we should also simplify taxes in a way that would allow for the tax base to be widened. So basically, a comprehensive tax reform package is needed.
So do you think that it's fair, for example, for a lot of people feel that they are paying for this 20 baht electric train scheme and that they don't live in Bangkok? And it's only benefiting people in Bangkok.
Right. I think there are two things here. A number of services, we should make choices clear. Do we want taxpayers to pay or do we want the users to pay? And if we feel that there are some users who deserve some kind of support, should we then target the support just to those people rather than provide a blanket subsidy for people to people who don't need it too in terms of government services like the SkyTrain or whatever? But there are also other services which we should feel or we should treat as basic rights. So education, health. I think in that case, it's fair to say that we collect taxes to provide it to everybody.
Okay, so you briefly touched on this earlier, but I want to get a clear yes or no if I can. Do you support the entertainment complex bill?
I would support an entertainment complex without a casino, which is for me very possible. I see so many theme parks, concert halls around the world that are not dependent on casino revenues. And I'm sure that if you offer the prime area of Bangkok near the river with the kind of conditions that people speculate will be offered to a casino, I'm sure those businesses will come.
Why do you hate the casino?
Because, for one thing, the state of law enforcement, which you've already touched upon, is so poor here that we would be repeating the mistakes of so many countries where it becomes a place for money laundering and attracts even more criminal activities, like we've seen already around the border of Thailand. You know, people talk about all the scam centers. Have you noticed that they're all situated alongside casinos? And they cite the example of Singapore as a success. But if you look at the number of tourists coming into Thailand compared to Singapore over the years that the casino has been open in Singapore, we've done better. We're not a country that needs a casino to draw people in. So I just don't think it's worth it. And it also, and this has already been brought to attention, this will affect also Chinese tourists in Thailand, because for China, it's illegal for their people to gamble even outside their country.
So all of that set aside, though, can you acknowledge or would you deny that the gambling aspect of an entertainment complex would help the economy?
I don't think it helps much. The reason is this. Number one, as I said, we're going to talk about attracting sort of net tourists, the ones that wouldn't have come without a casino. I don't think that's a great number. Number two, the revenue we get from this is basically the taxes we collect from the casino that makes a living from people losing money there. So I don't see that as a big plus for the economy. And there's also confusion about the government policy, because I know that the people planning to come here to set up a casino want 80% of their revenues to come from locals, whereas the government is still pretending that they can have a provision like only people with 50 million baht in their accounts can go into these places. So it doesn't add up.